Going to show you around today Ancient Dublin, the oldest part of the city, and we're including St. Patrick's Cathedral we're going to be going into. We're also going to be going into, I'm not even sure if anybody's on here. Oh, there is some people. We'll go into St. Patrick's Cathedral. We'll also go into Marsh's Library. We're going to visit the oldest building in Dublin, Christchurch Cathedral, the oldest street, Fishamble Street. We'll show you the oldest school. So it's Ancient Dublin. We're walking through some of the cobblestone streets of Ancient Dublin. Hi Julie, how are you? Catherine, how are you? Hope you're all doing well, folks. Good to see us all. So we're going to just start now in just a couple of minutes. We're going to take you around Ancient Dublin. Just wait for a few more people to come on. Ada girl, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. As I say, we're going to take you around to the ancient streets of Dublin. As the theme of this tour today is Ancient Dublin, and we're going to visit some of the oldest landmarks and buildings of the city. I'll tell you what, we'll get started right now because it is after the scheduled starting time. Welcome, everybody's just joined us. Good to see us. So, getting lots of snow here. Where are you at, girl? Philadelphia, is it? Mel Clo, how are you? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So where we're going to go first, Colleen, how are you? Where we're going to go first, folks, is into Marsh's Library. And Marsh's Library houses important collections of European books and manuscripts from the 15th to the 18th centuries. And when it opened in 1707, this is it, the building right here. We're going to be going in there right now. Lots of snow in Washington, D.C. Hey, Paula. I used to live right near Washington, D.C. I lived in Annapolis in Maryland, not too far from you. Used to go to the Dubliner in D.C. a lot, or the four provinces on Connecticut Avenue. The Dubliner, of course, is on Massachusetts Avenue and North Capitol. So when this library opened, it was in 1707. It was the first public library in Ireland. So it is the oldest library in all of Ireland. The Dubliner, there you go, Paula. Yeah, love it. Friend of mine, say hello to Brian Gaffney if you ever see him. Good friend of mine, a musician that plays in there, that performs in there. So here is the Marsh's Library, folks. And we're going to go inside. It's absolutely beautiful inside. The interior of Marsh's Library has remained largely unchanged over the past 300 years. And visitors come from all over the world to admire the architecture and soak up the atmosphere. It really is beautiful. Now it's in two, the books are housed in two different galleries and joined by a small reading room in between the two galleries. And the glass cases display our current exhibitions. Now the first gallery houses about 10,000 books which belonged to a man by the name of Edward Stingenfleet. He was a prominent English clergyman. So have a look at this library, folks. It's absolutely beautiful. Say hello to the ladies from France and Germany. They're interns. Not from Germany?
No, she's American.
Oh, you're American. Oh, the other girl's gone.
Yeah.
What part of the US are you from?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. I got a lot of people from the US on here right now. Oh. Yeah. Wisconsin, this young lady's from. And the other lady's from France. Burgundy.
What?
Is it Burgundy from France, is it?
Normandy.
Normandy. Yeah. Great stuff. So, as I said, folks, the first gallery here houses 10,000 books, which belonged to Edward Stingenfleet, a prominent English clergyman of the late 17th century. And this collection is particularly strong in its coverage of history, law, politics, classics, studies, and science. The founder of the library, Archbishop Narcissus Marsh, bought these books for £2,500, which would have been an enormous sum of money at that time. Here is the Milwaukee. You're from Milwaukee, Colin. Okay, great. I'll ask her what part she's from. Which would have been an absolute fortune back then. So this is Archbishop Narcissus Marsh, the founder of the library right here. And we'll make our way into the old reading room right here, which is in between the two galleries. And there's been many, many famous Irish people of literature that have actually read right here at this room, including James Joyce, Jonathan Swift, of course, and we'll talk about him a little later. even Bram Stoker read here in 1866. Now, just to show you some of this display, these would be the oldest books on display here at Marsh's library. And some of these books date back to the 15th, 16th century. And there was a war here. I'm sure you guys have been on lots of my other tours where I've spoken about the 1916 Easter Rising. Well, that was a 6-day war that took place here in Dublin. And part of the action was in most parts of Dublin at the time. And during that war, bullets were shot through this window right here. And they actually, in fact, ricocheted off some of these books. And I'm not going to touch the books, I'm just going to show you, if you can see some of the holes right there. The bullets ricocheted off of the books, or they hit the books, right? And they actually, what I meant to say, they ricocheted, they hit these books and ricocheted and hit other books right over here. So the bullets went flying through and back out. And so it basically was, it's a testament to how well maybe these books were binded all them years ago, back in the 15th, 16th century. It's quite amazing. Now we are now going to go into the second gallery. Sorry there, excuse me. Beautiful gallery, once again, just like the galleries here. Now this is less imposing than the first probably, and but it really is terrific. Now if you'd look, you'll see on the left hand side of this gallery Narcissus Marsh's personal collection of books. And Marsh was a talented linguist as well, and his collection is particularly strong in Hebrew, Arabic, Aramaic, Syriac and other related languages. And Marsh also had a strong interest in the great scientific developments of his time. And when Marsh died, his books were bequeathed to this library, but his impressive collection of Oriental manuscripts went to the Bodleian in Oxford. Now, if you look at these boots right here, is that what you call them, boots or whatever? Well, many people that came in here to read over the centuries actually went and sat in these booths to read some of these books. But unfortunately, over the centuries, over 1,000 books were stolen, because some of these people would come in here and they would actually have a bag with them, and they'd remove the book and put it in their bag and walk out of the library. So to say, over 1,000 books were stolen. Because of that, what they did was they built these cages so no more books could be stolen. So what they did was they put people in these booths. Yeah, Bram Stoker, that's right, Alec Rowe. So yeah, they would put people in these booths, and they'd have to lock them in. So they'd have to leave their bags outside and they'd lock them in. So no way could they steal the books. They have 3 of these cages, if you like, reading cages. I don't know if that's the proper word for them, but looks like a prison cell, doesn't it, a little bit? So there you go. We're going to leave this library now. How you doing there? And we're going to make our way to St. Patrick's Cathedral, which is an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful building. It's Ireland's national cathedral, and it's Ireland's also largest cathedral. And the great thing is that we're going to get an opportunity to actually go inside to St. Patrick's Cathedral and show you around there too. So I just have to make my way out here.
What we do
Sorry, excuse me. Now this is January, so nothing's that busy. I was in St. Patrick's Cathedral a little bit earlier, and there wasn't that many people in there at all compared to what there usually is. There you go. What part of Wisconsin are you from?
Green Bay.
Green Bay. Yeah. The Packers.
Yep.
The Cheeseheads.
Exactly.
I have a lady on here from Wisconsin.
Oh, cool.
She was asking what part of. Sorry, it's from Milwaukee, and she was asking what part of. Yeah. See you there. She's from Green Bay. There you go. See you there, guys. Take care. Green Bay, the home of the Packers, the Cheeseheads. I hope you enjoyed that little trip through Marsh's library. As I said before, very, very impressive. Dating back to 1707. Obviously Ireland's oldest public library. Now, it's not your regular public library in that you cannot take books out. You can't bring them home with you. but you can get permission, special permission to sit down in the reading room and read one of the books. So here is the gates here to St. Patrick's Cathedral, and you'll see St. Patrick's Cathedral right there. And we're going to go inside in just a little bit, but I'll show you this graveyard right here. This graveyard is the extremely old, one of the oldest graveyards in the country. There's only 500 people buried in this graveyard, so not that many, and I believe there is no more people or funerals or whatever, no more people are buried here there in the modern day. Now St. Patrick's Cathedral went through, as I say, St. Patrick's Cathedral was established in 1191 by Archbishop John Comyn, and it went through a lot of remodels, refurbishment over the years, and much of this refurbishment over the centuries was paid for by the Guinness family, because this would have been their parish church, including this man right here, and this is Benjamin Lee Guinness, and he was the grandson of the founder of the Guinness Brewery. Guinness Brewery was founded in the year 1759. So this fella right here would have been the owner at one time, and he really actually extended the Guinness Brewery worldwide, more or less, where he started exporting Guinness all across the world. And he also was the man responsible for putting the Guinness harp logo on each one of the bottles and the glasses of beer of Guinness. And he would have been the richest man in Ireland at one time. So most of the repairs that took place here. Now in 1850, he was responsible for paying £160,000 now, £160,000 in around 1850 for the repairs to this church. That would be equivalent, and also they put on a new roof at that time as well. And at that time, £160,000 would be probably equivalent to 30 million in today's money. That is some haul. As I say, this would have been his parish church. As I say, we're going to show you all the oldest parts of Dublin today. This right here that you're looking at is the oldest school in Ireland. It dates back to 1432. So probably in another 8 years, will be 600 years old. And it's the St. Patrick's Cathedral Choir School. It's a non-denominational school, so people of all religious persuasions, kids of all religious persuasions can go here. It's more like the equivalent of a middle school in the US or Canada. Middle school, not an elementary school, not a high school, but a middle school. And very high standard of education, very difficult to get into. Now we're going to make our way into, as I said before, St. Patrick's Cathedral. It is absolutely beautiful, and you'll see it when we get inside. It's stunning. Here is the logo here for St. Patrick's Cathedral logo, or not logo, coat of arms if you like, and you'll see St. Patrick right here. There's the man himself. So obviously St. Patrick's Cathedral is named after Ireland's patron saint, St. Patrick. He was here in this part of Dublin in the 5th century, and so it's an Anglican cathedral here. If you look at the first part that we're going to show you of the cathedral is the baptistry right here, and it's believed that baptistry right there has been used since the inception of this cathedral in 1191 and still being used to this day. You'll notice the old floors right there. They're supposed to be the original floors, and you got some beautiful stained glass. And I'm not sure if you can see it properly because of the shine, the lights, but you'll see St. Patrick in the middle and St. Peter and Paul either side of him. Okay, how you doing, boss? How's things? How you keeping?
Good to see you.
Good man, thanks. So here is the beautiful St. Patrick's Cathedral. Now you'll notice the extraordinary tile floors. There's something like 60,000 tiles here in 60 different styles. So it is absolutely stunning. I got to keep on turn the chat on in case I'm missing something. Gorgeous floor, says Julie. It really is, Julie. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. Now you'll see the Lady Chapel right here. This is known as the Lady Chapel. This Lady Chapel was added in 1270. As I said, the church dates back to 1191, but the chapel itself was added in 1270 and was used by the Huguenots. The Huguenots were French Huguenots. They were Calvinists. They were persecuted in France. And during the 1600s, many of them, thousands and thousands of them, came to the UK and to Ireland. They were great tradespeople. And they used this as their parish church from 1666 to 1816. Now, this was restored in 2013, and it offers a glimpse of its original colours. It is now used as an area, obviously, of worship and quiet reflection, and this is also where the choir will play. The St. Patrick's Cathedral Choir is one of the great choirs of the world, absolutely stunning. And they actually, different parts of the choir will perform here or practice here each evening at 5:30. If you're lucky enough to be in here, they close the doors here at 5 o'clock for the last entry. But if you came here at 5 o'clock, you may be able to hang on for a little bit and listen to the choir. They're absolutely stunning, amazing choir. Right here you will see the tree of remembrance. This is for any visitor that comes here to St. Patrick's Cathedral, can sign a leaf right here and put it on the tree of the loved ones that have passed by. The church is huge. It is the largest church in Ireland, Julie. It's a beautiful, largest cathedral. Well, largest church and cathedral. So the tree of remembrance right there. And if you look at this, this is known as the door of reconciliation. Now, this obviously was a different part of the church at one time, but I want to tell you a story, folks. I know you like stories, so I'll tell you this story. So this medieval cathedral played a central role in many historic events. Now, in 1492, a feud between the Butlers of Ormond and the Fitzgeralds of Kildare led to the families seeking refuge in the cathedral here. And after arguing through the chapel house door, Gerald Fitzgerald thrust his arm through a hole in the door as an offer of peace. And the Butlers accepted, and peace was made, giving rise to the phrase, to chant your arm. So they were fighting in this area outside the cathedral. They both were seeking refuge. They came into the cathedral. Now, these two families had been fighting for centuries. And in 1492, the day they came in here, it was, they reconciled. So you'll notice all the beautiful stained glass windows here. They're absolutely stunning. Many of them are from the 18th and early 19th centuries, from all different stained glass artists. A number of different artists and companies were involved, which is why each of the windows will probably look so different. But what's extraordinary about this, I know you probably can't see it with the lighting not so good in here, it's pretty dark, but one of the great probably Ireland's greatest ever stained glass artist was a man by the name of Harry Clark. And he would have been around in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And many of the cathedrals and churches throughout Ireland have Harry Clark stained glass windows. I'll just show you a few more of them. Let me show you the chapel from a different location from where you've seen it earlier. Really is stunning. Would you show us close up of the floor? Yes, indeed. As I say, it's something like 60,000 tiles here with 60 different styles. But it really is impressive. There's another cathedral which we'll be going down to a little bit later on, which is Christchurch Cathedral. And we're not actually going inside there. I didn't get permission to go in. The lady I usually deal with wasn't there today, but the floors in there are exceptional also. Really are stunning. Now, because this tour is a theme of Ancient Dublin, I'd love to show you a little more of the cathedral here, but we have to move on because there's lots of places I want to show you. This could be a tour in itself. Here's another look at some more of the tiles. Yeah, this could be a tour in itself, just doing the whole time with this one tour. If you look at the Irish flag right there, that represents, there's two Irish presidents This is them right here. And you have this guy, Urston Childers, and this fella right here, Douglas Hyde. Douglas Hyde was the first Irish president, and Urston Childers was president of Ireland 1973 to 1974. The reason why he only had 1 year in office was because he died while in office. He died in his sleep. So they were both members of this church, and their funerals took place right here at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Now, the cathedral here is run by a senior cleric, or a dean, if you like. And the most famous of these deans or senior clerics was none other than Jonathan Swift. And there's a tour here, so I've got to keep quiet. So this is Dean Swift right here. And he was the senior cleric, or the dean here, from 1713 to 1745. Now you might know him better as a writer, as he wrote the great classics Gulliver's Travels and A Modest Proposal. So he gave a lot of hope to the people here of Dublin. This would have been an extremely poor area, despite this magnificent cathedral. All around this area would have been extreme poverty during the time that he was the dean in the 1700s. But he gave them hope and so forth. And amazingly, back then, the lifespan, or the life expectancies for Dublin people in this area, because they were so poor, was 36 years old. But Jonathan Swift lived till he was 78 years old, which was really, really old for that period of time. They say the reason why he lived so long was because he used to bathe a couple of times a day, and he also used to exercise. So he'd do his push-ups and pull-ups. Obviously there'd be no gyms back then, but if there was, he would have been in it every single day. Have a look at this magnificent monument right here. And this is the Boyle Monument, which was erected by Richard Boyle. He was the Earl of Cork. And in 1632, in memory of his second wife, Lady Catherine, their children surround them on the lower tiers of the monument. And one of their children, they had 15 children, and I believe it was the 14th of their 15 children, was none other than Robert Boyle. Yes, that Robert Boyle, the famous scientist who discovered Boyle's Law. So he's one of the children here of the Boyle family. Now, Jonathan Swift, as I said, he died in the year 1745, and he's actually buried right here in the cathedral, underneath the floor right here. So this is where he's buried. He's buried with his companion. His companion was Stella Johnson, and this would be what they may have looked like. Jonathan Swift and his companion Stella Johnson. This is actually the death mask of Jonathan Swift right here, the death mask. So there you go. Now you can buy a lot of memorabilia right here at the cathedral if you ever came here. They had over 600,000 people here last year. It was a record for visitors, 600,000 people. Small country like Ireland, Dublin. But you can get your own little gadgets in memory of your time here at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Okay, we're going to leave the cathedral now. See you later, man. Take care. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Did anybody have any questions? No, they weren't married. That's a girl. They weren't. No. Now we're going to take you into St. Patrick's Park, which is right here, and we're going to show you another view, or a couple of views of the cathedral from different angles, so you can see it in better light. And you can see it from the outside. As I say, you have seen it from the inside, but let me show you from the outside. Now this is a Viking city here, Dublin, and you might see right in front of us there, you got two Viking needles, and these were found when they were widening the street right here, I think a couple of centuries ago. Two Viking needles. We'll tell you a lot more about the Vikings when we get up to Wood Quay, where the first Viking settlement was here in Dublin. But first, we're going to go into St. Patrick's Park. Now, obviously, also named after St. Patrick. Now, it's believed that in the 5th century, St. Patrick baptized the Irish pagans into Christianity right here in this park, around about this very, very spot. Tells you right here, near here is the reputed site of the well where St. Patrick baptized many of the local inhabitants here in the 5th century. And they actually built a wooden church for him to commemorate that during that time. Hi Cindy, how are you? So, St. Patrick is a patron saint of Ireland. We celebrate him on the 17th of March each year, which is a huge occasion here in Dublin and throughout Ireland. There's a massive parade here and a festival. The festival probably lasts about a week. People like to have any excuse to have a few drinks, and a few too many in a lot of cases. But the festival itself is fantastic. About 500,000 people or more will come here to attend the parade here in Dublin. And there'll be a lot of marching bands, a lot of US marching bands from the colleges of the US, some from Canada as well. And right here you have St. Patrick's Bell. That's my birthday, St. Patrick's Day. Okay, Attic girl, it is. They should have called you Patricia. What's your real name, Attic girl? I don't think I've ever known your real name. Is it Patricia? Is it Pat? So this is St. Patrick's Bell, also known as the Liberty Bell. And it's believed, Shelley, okay. Shelley, that's your name. Okay, Shelley. I should know this, but I'm sorry. So this is the bell that St. Patrick would have called on his congregation for prayers here in the 5th century. Obviously, this is not the original. This is a replica. And this was put here for Dublin's millennium, when Dublin, in 1988, when Dublin was 1,000 years old, commemorated its 1,000th commemoration. And now they say the real St. Patrick's Bell is in the National Museum of Ireland, the History and Archaeology Museum. But there's other historians that dispute that that's the real one, because many say that's from the 8th century and not the 5th century. Now let me show you some more views of St. Patrick's Cathedral from a different angle. Obviously, as I say, it's St. Patrick's Cathedral is in commemoration of Ireland's patron saint, St. Patrick. It's not the only St. Patrick's Cathedral across the world. There's many of them, including obviously St. Patrick's Cathedral on 5th Avenue, New York, which is absolutely massive also. But this is the original and this is the oldest. There's another one in County Armagh in the north of Ireland. And there's obviously the St. Patrick's Cathedral in Melbourne, Australia as well. That's just to name a few. But there is many of them. Obviously, throughout Ireland, there's a ton of St. Patrick's churches. Not cathedrals, but churches. Now, on the back wall right here, you'll see this is known as Liberty Parade. And it celebrates Ireland's literary heritage. And there's 12 plaques here. This was for the 1988 commemoration of Dublin becoming 1,000 years old. And you have all the great Irish writers, including Jonathan Swift, Oscar Wilde, James Joyce, William Butler Yeats, George Bernard Shaw, just to name a few. But there's 12 plaques and all commemorating Ireland's literary heritage. Who's this? This is George Bernard Shaw right here. I love these plaques as that go. Fantastic. Now you might notice these red brick buildings here behind us, and believe it or not, there's a huge amount of them. There's 1,600. They're known as the Ivy Trust buildings or the Guinness Trust buildings. Now these were obviously, or these were actually built from 1890 to around 1914, and they were built for the poor people of Dublin, for the working class people, by the Guinness family. The Guinness family, despite their wealth, would have been the richest family in Ireland for for a couple of centuries probably. But despite their wealth, they gave back to the community, and they were very much philanthropists. And they set these up, as I say, for the working class people of Dublin. There's 1,600 units in all. They're 2-bedroom apartments. And the people that live here, the working class people of Dublin that live in these apartments, pay 124 euros per week making it less than 500 euros per month, which is amazing for an area like here at the Liberties, because today, if you have apartments across the road there or anywhere else around here, because it costs you between 2,000 and 3,000 euros per month, whereas you're only paying 500 for the Ivy Trust or Guinness Trust buildings. They actually, Guinness Trust have a number of buildings also in, it's a steel, yeah, for sure, have another number of buildings also in the UK as well, in different cities throughout the UK, the Guinness Trust. They're very much, as I say, philanthropists. Now, if you look at this building right here, it's also part of the Guinness Trust. It's originally was called the Beano, and the Beano was a children's creche, children's kindergarten, if you like. But it's where the local poor children or working class children would come each day, and they would learn all about arts and crafts and all that kind of stuff. And it was opened here in 1913. It was actually at another location from 1907, but moved here in 1913, and it closed down in 1974. And there was also swimming baths behind it called the Ivy Baths, where the children could swim. And it was recognised as the largest creche or kindergarten in the whole entire world at that time. There you go, all paid for by the Guinness Trust. Hi, Sarah. I bet they are not for the poor now. They are still for the poor now. How about that? That's what I'm just saying. They are still for the poor. They only pay 500 euros a month, 124 euros per week, making it less than 500 euros. Now, to try and get into one of these apartments, you'd have to hope someone dies. And I'd say if someone does die, it's a family member that will be next in line to get the apartment. So it'd be near impossible to get one of these, especially at that price. But yeah, it's still unbelievably cheap. Now, this area of Dublin that I'm walking in right now is known as the Liberties. And the Liberties takes in about 7 kilometres of Dublin City. And most of the Liberties is across the road to my left and beyond. But where I'm walking now and where St. Patrick's Cathedral is also part of the Liberties. As I said before, it's got over 1,000 years of history, the oldest part of Dublin. And it has 4 whiskey museums. It's got 2 cathedrals. It's got other ancient churches, open air markets, and it also has Ireland's #1 tourist attraction, which is the Guinness Storehouse, and also the Guinness Brewery is right there in the Liberties also, which at one time was the largest brewery in the world in the late 1800s, and they were Ireland's biggest employer as well at one time, all here in the Liberties. So if you come to, I actually do a tour of the Liberties. I'm looking to do it maybe sometime next week, maybe next Thursday or whatever. So it's a fascinating tour. Now the Guinness Storehouse, something like 2.5 million people visited the Guinness Storehouse in last year, making it, say, Ireland's #1 tourist attraction. It's a great tour. At the end of the tour, you get a chance to go to the Gravity Bar on the top. It's 7 floors high, so you go to the top floor, which is all glass, 360-degree glass building, and you can enjoy a pint of Guinness while admiring the view of Dublin City. Now, what's quite extraordinary is that no more than 300 metres from St. Patrick's Cathedral, I'm walking up to another cathedral, which is Christchurch Cathedral. Now, I mentioned earlier, these are all still part of the Ivy Trust buildings, as you can see, the red bricks, Victorian style buildings. I love the old red brick. Here in Dublin, with a huge amount of Georgian and Victorian buildings. So this right here is Christchurch Cathedral that you're looking at. And amazingly, despite St. Patrick's Cathedral being so old, dating back to 1191, well, Christchurch Cathedral is even older, and it dates back to 1170. Now, originally, this is also Viking Dublin. So originally, there was a wooden church here that was built by the Vikings in around the year 1028, 1030 or so, by the Viking Silkenbeard. citric silken beard. And it was built on high ground overlooking the first ever Viking settlement in Dublin City, known as Wood Quay. Now, the Normans invaded Ireland in around 1170, and they defeated the Vikings, and this was rebuilt in stone by the Normans under a man by the name of Richard de Clare, otherwise known as Strongbow. And Strongbow's remains lie in rest here. His tomb lies in rest here in the cathedral. Now, this was a Catholic cathedral, just like St. Patrick's Cathedral were. Today they're both Anglican cathedrals, they're both Protestant cathedrals. And this originally, when it was built in the 12th century, was run by Archbishop Lawrence O'Toole. And for centuries it was Catholic. And then came along Henry VIII. And Henry VIII was also a Catholic at the time, and so was all of Great Britain. But Henry VIII wanted to get permission from the Pope at the time to ask him for an annulment or a divorce, to grant him a divorce from his wife, Catherine of Aragon, in order to marry Anne Boleyn. But the Pope refused him permission, and Henry VIII said, to hell with it, I'm going to start my own religion, and that religion was the Anglican religion. And this was all part of the Reformation, or whatever, of the Catholic churches in Ireland at the time, and all the churches then became Anglican churches throughout the whole country. So the modern day churches here in Ireland are all Catholic churches, and all the olden day churches were originally Catholic also, but they remain Muslim Protestants today. Jeez, it's all closed up in here, isn't it? See, the gates are locked. Now, there's in here, you have the oldest secular carvings of any cathedral or any church in the world. Also, you have the largest cathedral crypt of any cathedral crypt in either Great Britain or Ireland. And inside the cathedral crypt, you have a cat and a rat are on display. And there's a great story behind it. In 1850, the organ player was about to play the organ, and he puts his foot on the pedal, and it was stuck. And he goes around the back, and he finds a cat and a rat that were dead, stuck in the organ pipe. And their mummified remains are on display here in the cathedral, in the crypt. And they're affectionately known as Tom and Jerry. And they even get a mention in James Joyce's book, Finnegan's Wake. Now, another little side story. As I mentioned earlier, in the 12th century, when this cathedral was built, the Archbishop Lawrence O'Toole, who later became a saint, St. Lawrence O'Toole, he was the Archbishop of Dublin and Glendalough at the time. And anyway, he actually died in France, but his wishes were for his heart to be taken out of his body, his heart to be brought back to Christchurch Cathedral. So that's what was done. And for centuries and centuries and centuries, it was on display here in the cathedral until 2012, when some man must have hid in the church overnight, and he stole the heart that was on display here in the cathedral. 6 years later, in 2018, so this is very, very recent, he calls the authorities, he calls the Garda, as we call them here in Ireland, and he says to the Garda, I'm the man that stole Archbishop Lawrence O'Toole's heart from Christchurch Cathedral. And they were amazed that this man's calling up to admit this. And he told them where he hid the heart. He hid it in the Phoenix Park in Dublin, and told the guards, the Irish guards, the Irish police, where are you hiding it? And they asked him, so why are you telling us about this? Why are you giving it back? He says, because I've had nothing but heartache ever since I stole it. He says his parents both died of a heart attack. His wife had a heart attack. He had a heart attack himself, and he's had nothing but heartache since he stole it, and that's why he was giving it back. How about that story? Now, you see the beautiful archway right here, and it leads over to what once was all part of Christchurch Cathedral at one time, but this is today Dublinia Museum, and this is a medieval museum telling the story of the Vikings and medieval Dublin. even going back as far as the Celts and the Normans and what have you, and they say the Vikings, Viking Dublin. So in here you have more Viking artifacts in Dublin. There's more Viking artifacts in Dublin than there is any other place in the world outside of Scandinavia. This is where you'll see the line of the streets right here. These are some more artifacts right here. Now, as I mentioned before, you'll see a Viking ship over there at the entrance into Dublinium Museum. So this is Dublinium Museum, to say one of the great museums. It's about 15 euros to go inside. It is absolutely fabulous. It tells the story, as I say, of medieval Dublin and the Vikings. Not just the Vikings, but going back to the Druids and the Celts. So way back in Irish history. Now, as I said before, the Vikings had their settlement here, what is known as Wood Quay. And if you see these ugly buildings right here, this was where they had their settlement, behind the cathedral. Because as I said before, they had a wooden church where the Christchurch is there today. They had a wooden church overlooking the first Viking settlement here in Dublin. Now in the 1970s, the early 1970s, they were doing a huge archaeology dig right here before these buildings were built. And they were finding thousands of Viking homes, thousands of Viking artifacts, hundreds of Viking ships, all kinds of things associated with the Vikings. And much to the chagrin of the mainstream population, the Irish government wanted to build the Dublin City Council buildings right here on this site. There was protests week in, week out. Many people attended these protests, trying to stop the Irish government from building the Dublin City Council buildings here on this sacred property or sacred site of the Vikings. Now, in the end, the government got their way. In 1985, they built this ugly ass building right here, known as the Dublin City Council buildings. Now, if any private entity wanted to do this, they wouldn't have been allowed. But the government always get their way in the end, I guess. And here's some more artifacts. So they're all over the street. You'll see the Viking artifacts. So there was huge uproar, as I say, obviously from historians and archaeologists and even tour guides, and also the mainstream population. They were very annoyed about this building of this city, Dublin City Council building. Now, I'm going to go, we're coming up the River Liffey. We're on the south side of the River Liffey right now. I'm going to go right up to the River Liffey. The River Liffey is the river that runs through the centre of Dublin City. And there's 21 bridges that run over the River Liffey in the city of Dublin. As I said, we're on the south side now. I've got a green light and I better go run. I'm running, folks, because if I miss this light, I'll wait another 5 minutes for another one. But I want to show you exactly where the Vikings arrived here in the year 840. So there here is Wood Quay. This was the first ever settlement of the Vikings, and this is where they rode up to in the year 840, nearly 1200 years ago. Here's another site of the River Liffey. That's actually a nice photograph right there. Now, this bridge, as I say, there's 21 bridges that run over the River Liffey, and in Dublin City, this is the O'Donovan Rossa Bridge, named after a rebel leader of the Irish Republican Brotherhood and Clan na Gael. He was a rebel, O'Donovan Rossa, Jeremiah O'Donovan Rossa. And then right over here, you see the dome building right here. That's the Four Courts of Dublin. It's a beautiful building. And it was designed by the great James Gandon, one of the greatest, or probably the greatest architect to ever design buildings in Dublin. And he was responsible for the Four Courts right there, the beautiful Custom House, the King's Inn, O'Connell Bridge, and also he finished the design of the Old Irish Parliament as well. These were all in the 1700s. 1783, I believe, the Four Courts, 1783 or 1793. Now, the other bridge that you see here in the distance is the Henry Grattan Bridge. And Henry Grattan was one of Ireland's most beloved olden day politicians. He would have been around in the late 1700s, later 1700s, and he would have been the key figure in the Irish, on the Irish side of the Irish government. And the Irish government, the Irish building, Irish Parliament, I should say, which housed the Irish House of Lords and the Irish House of Commons right there in College Green, across the way from Trinity College. So he would have been the lead Irish politician, and he fought his whole political life for Irish freedom. Politically, he was opposed to any kind of violence, but politically, and he tried to get equal rights, civil rights, if you like, for the poor Irish people of the day. And he fought hard for the Irish people. Unfortunately, he didn't get his wishes during his lifetime, and this bridge is named after him. Now, he was so popular among the Irish people that the Irish people didn't call it the Irish Parliament building, didn't call it the Irish Parliament. They called it Grattan's Parliament. The reason why this bridge is named after him, the Henry Grattan Bridge right here between Capel Street and Parliament Street, is because this is the street that he was born on, and this is Fishamble Street. And we're actually going to go here. Thank you. We're going to go here to Fishamble Street, and this is Dublin's oldest street. Now, it gets its name. It gets its name from during medieval times. This was a fish market, and also an open air meat market, which were now known as shambles. So right here, Fishamble. So an open air meat market that were known as shambles. An open air slaughterhouse, open air meat market, and a fish market. Hence the name, say, Fishamble Street. And we're just coming up here to this house, and this is number 26 on my left. Number 26. Hello, Nan. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. So this is number 26, Fishamble Street, and this is the oldest street in Dublin. Sorry. Yeah, Fishamble Street is the oldest street in Dublin. This is number 26, Fishamble Street, and this is the oldest still occupied house in Dublin. Still occupied. It dates back to 1720, and that's not the oldest house in Dublin. The oldest house in Dublin dates back to like 1639. It's on Thomas Street in the Liberties. This one dates back to 1720, but members of the same family, the O'Casey or the Casey family, have lived here for over 250 years and still live here to this day. Members of the same family. There's lots of history in this street. This is the beginning of the Temple Bar area of Dublin, which is a completely separate tour on its own. But as I said, there's plenty of history on this street, including, if you notice the name of this hotel right here, it's called Handel's Hotel, and it's named after George Frederick Handel, because here in 1745, where this hotel is, and also this building right here, these buildings, was a huge music hall, and the first recital of Handel's Messiah took place right here on the 13th of April 1742, and performing that day with George Frederick Handel was none other than the choirs of St. Patrick's Cathedral and Christchurch Cathedral, which you've seen both of today. And they are two of the great church choirs in the world. They are absolutely magnificent. So the first recital of Handel's Messiah. Now, are you guys ready for a story? If anybody's ever been on this tour that's on here now, if you've been on it before, you would have heard this story. And you might have heard it some other times from me as well. And if you ever came to any of my music tours, which I do on Sunday nights every so often, I do a tour right here, a music tour of Darky Kelly's. Darky Kelly's is Dublin's number one music pub for traditional folk and ballad Irish music. But there's a story, because it wasn't always a bar. And it's a great pub, great pints of Guinness in here, great food in here as well. But as I said before, it wasn't always a pub. It was at one time. Who was Darky Kelly? So you ready for the story, folks? Get excited. So here's the story. Love story time. Hey Terry, how are you? Wonderful tour. Thank you, Colin. So Darky Kelly, who was Darky? Darky Kelly was a madam. And this was Dublin's largest brothel in the 1700s. And the who's who of Dublin society, of men of Dublin society, will come by here because Darky Kelly had over 100 prostitutes on the payroll, if you like, and this was the place to come because a lot of them were very pretty and so forth. And she made a big mistake, Darky Kelly, of having a relationship with the Dublin sheriff at the time. His name is Simon Luttrell, and he would have been the most powerful man in Dublin. And this was a man you did not want to mess with or have a falling out with. But unfortunately for Darky Kelly, she had a falling out with this man, and he accused her of being a witch and of performing witchcraft. No pun intended, of which she was innocent. She was never a witch, and she never performed witchcraft. But despite this, she was partially hung and burnt at the stake in 1764, I believe, for a crime that she was innocent of. Now, just before her, a few days before her execution, there happened to be a very well-known Dublin businessman that was missing, and no one knew where he was. So, the day after her execution, they decided to come into the brothel. Someone had tipped off that he might have been a customer of Darky Kelly's. They come into the brothel and they lift up the floorboards. Underneath the floorboards was this very well-known Dublin businessman dead, along with 6 other men, making Darky Kelly Ireland's first ever serial killer. So I guess she wasn't that innocent after all. How about that, folks? Hope you like that story. And that's a true story. True story, folks. This is the Harding Hotel. They actually own Darky Kelly's. It's a one business, Harding Hotel plus Darky Kelly's. There's a lot of ex-Hago viewers that have stayed at that hotel, and I've met up with them and took them around for a walking tour of Dublin. I brought them into Darky Kelly's, of course, for the music. We had many, many visitors last year and the year before, 20, 21, 22, 23, that were on the old Hago platform. This is Lord Edward Street, named after Lord Edward Fitzgerald. He was from a very prominent Dublin family. His father was Lord Leinster, James Fitzgerald. He had 15 children. But Lord Edward Fitzgerald was one of the leaders of the 1798 rebellion. Now, against the British. Now, all the wars we ever had were against the British, and we lost every single one of them, including the 1798 rebellion. And Edward Fitzgerald was actually injured from a gunshot wound in that war, and he died a few days later. But if he hadn't have died, he would have been executed anyway. And this is where he lived, right here. Lord Edward Street is named after him because this is where he lived. And you'll see his portrait right there above the pub. So where he lived right here is where this pub is, named after him, called the Lord Edward. And there is this portrait above the pub. I'll just show it to you in closer up. The Lord Edward. Now let me just show you. Actually, just down the street here you have Dublin Castle. It's another tour in itself. You'll see the dome right there. So, yes, we missed it. Yeah, Hago was absolutely amazing. I was on Hago for, well, probably a few months after it started, maybe. From March 2021 to when it closed, April 11th, 2023. I think I did 330 tours on Hago in 85 different locations throughout Ireland. This is the oldest fish and chip shop here in Dublin, called Leo Burdock's. It was established right here in 1913. Now, what's so famous about the fish and chips here is that they use Guinness in the batter. So Guinness is one of the ingredients in the fish and chips. Now, this is so popular, this place. There's a lot of traffic coming and walkers coming, so I've got to move out of the way. But it's a celebrity fish and chip. We actually don't call them fish and chip shops, we call them chippers. And lots and lots of celebrities, Hollywood celebrities, musicians from around the world and other famous people have frequented Leo Burdock's when it came to Dublin, or have come here and visited and had their famous fish and chips. So here is their own wall of fame right here. So let's see some of the names. Now, some of these names you will not recognise because they're more Irish celebrities. So if you're not from Ireland, you mightn't recognise them. The guys from U2, obviously you remember, you know them. Sandra Bullock, Jason Patrick. I mean, there's so many of them. Bruce Springsteen and his band. The Williams sisters, look, Serena and Venus. Colin Farrell, of course, he's Irish. Gabriel Byrne is Irish. Ron Howard, the great director. Actually, he was a great actor as well. He was there with the Fonz. What was the name of that show? Happy Days, wasn't it? Something like that. Katie Couric, John Malkovich, Russell Crowe, Metallica, the late Sinead O'Connor, Rod Stewart, Tom Cruise, Brian Dennehy, yeah. Brian Dennehy was Irish-American. I think he was from Illinois, Chicago or somewhere, wasn't he? Irish. I think Brian Dennehy's parents were Irish, I'm not sure. I know he's Irish background anyway. Great actor. Nancy Griffith, the great folk singer. Folk, country and western singer. Happy Days, there you go, yeah, Sarah, there you go. So just show you a few of them. Now, I asked these guys before who was the most frequent visitor, and they say Bruce Springsteen. So Bruce Springsteen comes to Ireland nearly every year. He played 3 sold out shows last May. He's coming again, I think June this year, for there'll be another 3 sold out shows. So he comes here very often, and what he does is when he first comes, he lays down his bags in the lobby of his hotel and makes his way straight to here. And he stands in line like everybody else, because it's like coming up to 4 o'clock here in Dublin, but during lunchtime that place will be packed. Here's another view of Christchurch Cathedral from a different angle. As I say, this is the oldest structure in Dublin. It's the oldest working building in Dublin, and it dates back to 1170. It really is a spectacular building, inside and out. Bruce is brilliant, he is. He's the best live performer I've ever seen. I've had many of his shows before, here and in the US, when I lived in the US. He just is amazing. And when he comes on for an encore, the encore lasts about an hour. So he really gives you your money's worth. Although his tickets today are really expensive. but I guess all of the live acts are today. So folks, that's all I got for you for this show today. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time. If you wish to contribute, I do have my, in the chat right there, you'll take a look, or in the description, you can take a look and you'll see my PayPal and also my buy me a coffee account. If you wish to donate, I'd very much appreciate it. That'd be very kind of you. And if not, that's no problem. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd very much appreciate it if you could do that. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Paula. Thanks, everybody saying thank you. Okay. Yes, if you wish to subscribe to my channel, I'm getting close to the 1,000. I'm at, I think, 887 or 889, something like that. I've just a little over 100 to go before I reach the magic 1,000 subscribers where I can monetize my channel. Next week I'm doing some tours on this channel. I got 3 tours coming up, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. One is in one of Dublin's oldest villages, Donnybrook. It's a great tour, some great history in Donnybrook. The day after that I'm doing a history tour of Pádraig Pearse, one of the leaders of the 1916 Easter Rebellion, and his school, which was in St Enda's Park in Rathfarnham, a Dublin suburb about 3-4 miles from here. Thank you, Dana. Appreciate it. Thanks, Attic Girl. Shelley. I didn't realise Attic Girl was Shelley. Sorry about it. Yeah, and then next on Wednesday I'm going to Wicklow Harbour and Wicklow Town. It's the county town of County Wicklow, which is the next county over from Dublin. It's probably about 35 miles from Dublin is Wicklow Town. So I'll be there on Wednesday. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's reputed that the beach there at Wicklow Harbour is where St Patrick first arrived to Ireland in the 5th century. Should have named something Irish. Hippie parents, huh? I like it a lot. Very good. Were they at, what was it called? Woodstock. Were they at Woodstock? So it must be 4 o'clock because the bells are ringing. Can you hear the bells? The bells of of Christchurch Cathedral. So folks, we'll leave you. Thanks very much for coming on. I hope you enjoyed the tour today, and hopefully we'll see you next week. As I say, if you wish to contribute to this tour today, I'd very much appreciate if you could leave a donation on Buy Me a Coffee or on PayPal. If not, no problem, we'll catch you next time. And hopefully we'll see you Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm probably going to do tours all next week because right now January is not busy. I'm doing a tour tomorrow and Sunday, walking tour tomorrow and Sunday. But January is the slowest month of the year for walking tours here in Dublin. So I think next week I don't have anything. Well, there's nothing come in yet. There's no bookings yet for walking tours. So I have time to do virtual live stream tours here on YouTube on my channel. As I say, getting close to the 1,000 subscribers. So if you can subscribe to me, only if you have not subscribed before. There's probably a few years on here that I've already subscribed to my channel. If you haven't, please hit that button and subscribe. Also, folks, if you really enjoyed this tour today, and if you wish to send this tour to your friends and family, shortly after I finish this tour, you can share this tour with some of your friends, some of your family members. Maybe some of them have a wish to come to Ireland. It's on their bucket list or whatever, and to come to Dublin, and they want to see a little bit about the history of Dublin. I got probably 175 to 180 tours on my YouTube channel. You can share any one of them you want and send them off to, as I say, your friends and family. And if you can ask them also to subscribe to my channel as well, I'd very much appreciate that. So as I said before, folks, that's all I got for you. Have a great day, enjoy your weekend. I hope your team wins if you're in the playoffs for the Super Bowl in the NFL. I know the Green Bay Packers, they're still in the run. They won last week. So I'm sure the Wisconsin lady, Deborah, was it? Paula, was it Paula that was from Wisconsin? Or Mel? I'm looking through the list to see who was from Wisconsin. I can't go back that far. Oh, there you go. Colleen. Sorry, it was Colleen from Milwaukee. So she's probably a Green Bay Packers fan. Folks, that's all I got for you. Have a great day. Thank you so much and take care. Thank you.